A very fascinating discussion that I want to have on today's show. Should the Miami Heat consider trading Tyler Herro to the Atlanta Hawks for Trae Young? It's a very fascinating discussion. Trae Young has been linked as someone the Heat could target via trade for, honestly, the past couple of years now. And the question is, could they trade Tyler to get Trae Young? And other than the fact that Miami has been linked to Young over the past 2 years in trade rumors around the NBA, I've come to the conclusion, based off watching the current iteration of Trae Young and watching this past season's Tyler Herro, which has been the best version of him in his early career, they could not play together. If your backcourt was Tyler Herro and Trae Young, it would be the worst defensive backcourt, I think you can argue, in NBA history. And it is going to be a recipe for getting blown out in playoff series. Yeah, you might be able to score the ball, but the defense would be so bad at the perimeter, the point of attack, to where you have no chance of winning. So if you are a Heat fan that wants Trae Young on the roster to help unlock Bam and Kel'el Ware and pick and rolls and on the offensive end, I think you would have to trade Tyler Herro. And on today's show, we're going to discuss if that would be the case and what I prefer. But I want you to pick a player. I'm going to break down each player, pit them against each other, and look at contracts, the whole 9 yards. Which player would you prefer? Tyler, type TH. If it's Trae, type TY. Well, before we made this video, I actually asked YouTube community and social media which player they would prefer. Now, these are mostly Heat fans, so it might be slightly biased, but on Twitter/X, Tyler Herro won 64.9%. And then on YouTube community, which if you guys are subscribed, you would be able to vote in that poll. If you aren't, make sure you are subscribed. Tyler Herro got 58% of the votes. In terms of the question, would you trade Tyler Herro for Trae Young? And most of the people said no. And I'm kind of shocked by these results, if I'm going to be honest. When I look at my YouTube comment section, when I look at the dialogue around Tyler Herro on social media, most of it is pretty negative. I mean, a lot of people don't want to extend him, what he's worth and what he's eligible for. A lot of people don't think he's good enough to be a top 2 player on a championship team. So when I threw out that poll of if you would trade Tyler Herro for Trae Young, I expected it to be close to 50-50 or heck, maybe even in favor of trading Herro for Trae. But that wasn't the case. So let's break down the 2 players now and who the Heat might rather have. Well, this past season was Tyler Herro's best year. I would not say it's Trae Young's best season, although he did have another good year for Atlanta, leading them to the 8th seed. They ended up missing the playoffs. Both average about the same points per game, but the big difference in the 2 this past season was Tyler Herro was way more efficient, shooting 47% from the field and 37% from 3. But the other end of the spectrum is the fact that Trae Young just generates so many more points for his respective team. He averages slightly more points, but also averages more than double the assists per night than Tyler Herro. Both of them played the same amount of games basically this season. Tyler played 77, Trae Young played 76. So Trae Young was able to stay on the court. Tyler Herro was able to stay on the court. That's also been an intriguing thing in their career so far. Trae Young, although he is an undersized guard, he is very available to play. Averages about 65 games played per season. Tyler Herro, this has been the best season in his career because prior to this year, he was averaging high 50s, low 60s. So Trae Young historically has been more available. I think another aspect of comparing these 2 are who would you rather have for their current price tag? Well, when you look at the contracts for the 2, each player has 2 years left on their respective deals. Tyler at $31 and $33 million, Trae Young at $46 and $48.9. I do want to make note for Trae Young in that 2026-27 season, that is a player option for Trae. So he could choose to opt into that $48.9 million deal, or he could choose to opt out and become an unrestricted free agent if the Hawks or said team like Miami trades for him and does not agree to an extension with Trae Young. So Herro is less expensive right now, but both are currently available this offseason for a contract extension. We'll look at what Trae Young's eligible for. We already know what Herro's is, but we rehash that as well. But make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we got daily Miami Heat content, whether it's news, whether it's rumors, interesting hypotheticals like this one. Join the channel today for daily content all off season long on the road to 23,000 subscribers. Join the channel today. Well, before I show you what Trae Young is eligible for, I do want to make this note on what contract I prefer. Although Tyler Herro is cheaper than Trae Young over the next 2 seasons by about $12, $13 million each per specific season, I have been very clear. I am not maxing out Tyler Herro. He is eligible for a 3-year, $149.7 million contract this October. That comes out to about $48-49 over the 3 seasons. If you wait and Herro gets extended next offseason, it would be for about $200 and change million. If he somehow makes the All-NBA, well, then now it's 5 years for like $340 million. Trae Young's contract extension that he is eligible for is slightly more. Not really slightly. It is more than Tyler Herro. He's eligible for a 4-year, $229 million deal this offseason. That comes out to $57.2 million in annual average value. If you wait and you do not extend Trae Young if you were to trade for him, or the Hawks just did it this offseason, and similar to Tyler, makes All-NBA next year, he would then become eligible for a 5-year, $345 million contract, which is $69 million on an annual average basis. So even with Tyler Herro's contract being upgraded to $48-49 mil per season with his current extension that he's eligible for, Trae Young's contract extension is still higher by about $8 to $9 million in an annual average value, assuming both players do not make All-NBA next season. So if you did trade Herro for Trae Young, you would have to allot $8 or $9 million per season more to Trae Young. And the question is Trae Young worth $8 or $9 million per season more than Tyler Herro? That's a fascinating discussion, but I think I can make this statement very fairly here. I am willing to say both players are overpaid in that scenario. Tyler Herro is not worth $49 million per season. I've been very open that his sweet spot should be 35, maybe max of 40. Because OG Anunoby gets paid $42 million. But I think OG Anunoby might impact winning as a 3rd or 4th option more than Tyler Herro is, because Herro doesn't defend and he has not performed in the playoffs when he's been asked to. I also can make the point that Trae Young is probably not worth $57 million per season due to his inefficiencies, being a volume guy, and his lack of effort on the defensive end. So both guys, I don't think, deserve that money financially from respective teams if you want to win a championship. But if the Heat want to get closer, maybe it is worth swapping out Herro for Trae Young. We're going to officially make our decision here coming up in a second. But I do got to give some love to our sponsor, which is Prize Picks, the daily fantasy sports platform that I play consistently and on a daily basis with the playoffs here. You got baseball, you got hockey, you got basketball, you got golf, and you got to cash in on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your last chance to add your favorite players from the court to your lineup, whether it's points, rebounds, assists. Take your pick of more or less for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. Turn your playoff hot takes into tickets to basketball's championship series. Every lineup you make on Prize Picks will enter you in the Takes to Ticket sweepstakes, which could get you and a +1 a VIP trip to the ship. And I made an entry for the series. Yeah, you could go daily. You could also went with a series projection. This is mine. I took more than Jalen Brunson, 27.5 points per game. More than Porzingis, 18.5 points per game. Not off to a hot start there. And I went less than Mikal Bridges, 14.5 points per game in the Knicks Celtics series. Every Tuesday, Prize Picks also discounts several projections on the board, usually by 15 to 25%. So take advantage today on Taco Tuesday. But join me and the millions of others on Prize Picks today. Download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, now on the back half of today's show, I am going to go through the reasonings why I would have one player more than the other. And there's 5 things that we're going to look at here. We're going to look at defense, we're going to look at availability, effort, and scoring. Well, let's start with the defensive end. And I can't make a decision when I am debating Herro versus Trae. Because the truth is, both are 2 of the worst defenders at the guard position in the entire NBA. I mean, they're absolutely atrocious. I could not confidently say which one I would rather have. Trae Young has been historically better at stealing the basketball, taking the ball away, reading the passing lanes. Herro somehow slightly better in on-ball defense, maybe because he's 6'5", 6'6", as Trae Young 6'2", 6'3". But when you look at the career defensive ratings, it is not a pretty sight by any stretch of the imagination. Tyler Herro is the better career defender in the regular season if you look at his specific defensive rating. But I will also point out that defensive rating could be heavily impacted by who you share the court with. Herro has shared the court a lot in his regular season career with Jimmy Butler, with Bam Adebayo, 2 of the best defenders in the NBA. Is Trae Young? Yeah, he's had a couple good defenders with him, like Dyson Daniels. Over the career, maybe hasn't had the teammates of Tyler Herro. And I think, funny enough, even though Tyler Herro has played 50 career playoff games, Trae Young has played 27, they both have the exact same defensive rating in the playoffs. 116.5. So both of them, when it matters the most in the NBA postseason, are about the same level of defenders. And we know how bad Herro has been when being targeted in the playoffs. Trae Young gets equally as targeted. He's appeared in the playoffs 3 times. Each of those series, he has been targeted like crazy on the defensive end. You need to surround him with good defenders if he is your sole offensive creator. And speaking of offensive creators, you have to give the edge in comparing Herro to Trae Young to Trae. Because when you think about it, yeah, is Herro more efficient? And you could argue Trae Young gets his numbers just based off pure volume. I think that's a fair argument to make. But when you factor in the amount of offense Trae Young creates for his teammates in comparison to Tyler Herro, it's simply unmatched. And I don't think assists tell the whole story, because you could get your teammates open, but if they miss every shot, you're not going to rack up assists. But when someone consistently has averaged 8-9 assists in their career and averaged more than 10 assists per game in the regular season over the past 2 years, I think it's very obvious that Trae Young is the better offensive creator and hub. And he gets doubled so often and blitzed in the pick and roll that he's just able to dump it down to the slipping big men, and they can either make plays with it or they can score it. And if you have Bam and Ware running that pick and roll with Trae, Bam is really good in the short roll. He can either hit a little mid-range, a floater, finish, or kick it, or drop it off to someone on the baseline. Kel'el Ware would be able to get unlocked offensively rim running because of how good of a lob threat he is. So if you're just going off pure offensive creation in the regular season, Trae Young is clearly going to win that battle with Tyler Herro. I'm also going to give him the battle in playoff performance. I am going to go with Trae Young. Both players have extensive playoff careers. Trae Young has appeared in 27 playoff games. Tyler Herro has appeared in 50. The edge is clearly Trae here. I mean, the efficiency is maybe slightly on Tyler, but it hasn't even been close. Herro is, by the way, never averaged more than 20 points per game in a playoff series. That is hard to fathom, considering Tyler Herro's only role and what he is known for in the NBA is his ability to score. Not to factor in the fact that Trae Young, by the way, in his 27 playoff games, has, as a number 1 option, led his team to the Eastern Conference Finals. His first ever playoff appearance. He took Atlanta to the conference finals, where they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks, who obviously won the title that year. That was the same year that Milwaukee eliminated Miami in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Herro has had 2 options as a top 2 guy on his respective team. 5-game series loss to Boston in 2024. This year, a sweep historically bad against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Trae might have the edge in that retrospect. Now, I will give Tyler Herro the edge in effort. And when I mean effort, even though that he might not be a good defender, he does try to a degree. Sometimes when you watch Trae Young, his body language is so bad where he doesn't give adequate effort on both ends of the floor. Herro will give you effort. It might not be good, but he will try. And just going back to that play-in game between Miami and Atlanta for the 8th seed, where the Heat ultimately won in Atlanta in overtime thanks to Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell outplayed Trae Young in the late fourth quarter and overtime, just based off effort, determination, and grit. So, yeah, Trae's biggest knock is defense. I believe his second biggest knock is his effort. Sometimes he just does not give what is required to win, which is a large reason why I'm skeptical about adding Trae Young to the Heat's roster. But the final Herro versus Trae debate. Who fits better in Miami? I'm going to go with Trae Young. I am. And that might ruffle some feathers here as well. But the truth is, what is the largest need for the Miami Heat? They need to up their offensive output, and they need a true lead guard in the backcourt. I love Tyler Herro. I do. But he's no true lead guard. He's an off-ball 2 guard. And that's fine. There's no reason to hate on what he brings to the table. Because he's a 20-point-per-game guy in the backcourt that needs a true lead ball handler and defensive player alongside him. But if you just swap Trae for Tyler, I don't think your defense changes really at all. But your offense would take a hike up just due to the ability and attention that Trae Young brings. He's also just a better distributor and a playmaker than Tyler Herro. Both turn the ball over, but guess what? Trae's giving you 10, 11 assists a game with those turnovers. Tyler's only giving you 5 or 6. So yeah, the Heat need to get Bam and Ware more easy looks inside. Trae Young would be able to do that a lot better than Tyler Herro. So you know where I'm going with this. But final word, after the entire video basically here, would you trade Tyler Herro for Trae Young? And it wouldn't require any other picks. Just player for player, would you do it? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I would absolutely trade Tyler Herro for Trae Young. It's a tough debate. I love Tyler, and I have my reservations about Trae Young. But when you think of it, both are on the same playing field when it comes to their defensive abilities. Both are bad. But when you look at the offensive output, Trae Young gives you 24, 25 a night while dishing out 10 dimes a night. Herro can only give you about 22, 23 points and 5.5 assists. And when you factor in the playoff rising performances of Young, averaging 26 points per game in his 27 playoff games, compared to Tyler Herro averaging 14.5 points per game on his 50 games. Herro's never averaged more than 20 points per game in a playoff series. Trae's led his team to the Eastern Conference Finals as the number 1 option. Unfortunately, I think Trae would unlock Bam and Ware more than Herro can at this point, so I would trade Tyler Herro for Trae Young. And this is what a trade would potentially look like if you did one. I said you wouldn't have to send over draft capital in a trade, in my opinion. But in this specific trade idea that I have, rather than swapping 1 for 1, and maybe the Heat add like a Duncan Robinson to match Trae Young's salary, I get rid of both Herro and Rozier. Because we know we don't want Terry. He's on a 1-year, $26.6 million deal this upcoming season. You get Georges Niang back, a expiring $8.2 million contract, a solid wing shooter that could come off the bench. To get rid of Rozier in this deal, I think you would have to attach some draft capital, and that would be a second-round pick. And then if you're Atlanta, you're building around Jalen Johnson, Zachary Reese-Sachet, to where you have Tyler Herro and Dyson Daniels in your backcourt, Zachary Reese-Sachet, Onyeka Okongwu, and Jalen Johnson in your front court. Is that a good winning basketball team? I don't know, but the Hawks need to choose a direction, and in this hypothetical, they choose to go with Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, and Reese-Sachet, adding the scoring Tyler Herro alongside them, rather than the offensive black hole at times, if you will, in Trae Young. And then Miami adds Trae Young. They get their offensive creator, initiator, and lead ball handler to help unlock Bam and Kel'el Ware in their front court. That'll do it for this episode of the Heat Report. We talk Heat basketball every day, and if you're still watching today's video, you like what we're doing to some capacity, so hit that sub button and join the channel.